Oh, let me see, make sure I'm ready to go. That was dumb. This is Geek News Central. My name is Todd Cochran, coming to you from the new media production studio. The lead stories are Tesla employees reportedly have been sharing videos captured by cameras on customers' cars. The creator of Cash App was stabbed to death in San Francisco. U.S. defense tech veterans call for a separate cyber force. And Walmart introduces major expansion to EV charging network. I want to welcome you to episode 1662 of the Geek News Central podcast for Thursday, April 6th. This show is sponsored in part by GoDaddy.com and listeners just like you. Great deals from GoDaddy can be found at geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy. You can support this show today at geeknewscentral.com/insider. Hey, I want to give a warm welcome to all the new listeners of the show. Thanks for being here. Thanks for checking out the podcast. Make sure you get over to geeknewscentral.com. When you're on the website, follow or subscribe to the podcast via the links on the right-hand column of the website. And, of course, sign up for our newsletter. Newsletter's a little bit further down on the webpage. So definitely get connected with us. Of course, you can join our chat room or Mastodon chat server at geeknews.chat. Just say you're a fan of the show, and we'll get you approved over there. Of course, your Discord channel is also available. Link will be up in the show notes. You can always contact me via geeknews@gmail.com, geeknews@gmail.com, or on Twitter at geeknews. You can follow me on Facebook by searching for my name. Just search for Todd Cochran. Follow me over there. Friend me. And do that. That's a great way to do it. All the partner shows are linked at geeknewscentral.com. That includes the new media show hosted by myself and Mr. Rob Greenlee, the Gadget Professor with Mr. Don Bain, and of course the GNC Week in Review with our executive producer our executive producer Kirk. Again, happy 6-year anniversary, and his co-host Scott. And I tell you, just stay connected with these shows. Get connected, subscribe to them, follow them. Give them feedback, say you're fans of the podcast, stay part of the family here at Geek News Central. Of course, this show is sponsored in part by our good friends at GoDaddy. You can go over to geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy, and you can save money. This is the longest continuous sponsorship of a podcast. We want to keep it that way. We want them to continue to be the longest supporting the show and maintain this world record. How do we do that? By you engaging with these sponsors, by getting over to geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy and utilizing one of these deals. The economy, we don't know what's going to happen. The numbers tomorrow will probably point which way we're headed, but we know that layoffs are up 396%. So do something to future-proof and get yourself set up with a new business, podcast, e-commerce, you name it, by going over to GoDaddy and grabbing a deal. 30% off of new product purchases. And using my codes are simple. CJCGeek30. You just click on the link to lock it in. $4.99.com for brand new customers or those transferring one in. Again, new customer deal only. CJCGeek99. The $1.99 a month economy hosting for the first year still here. $1.99 a month economy hosting for the first year includes a free domain name. That code is CJCGeek1H. $1.99 a month economy hosting for the first year. Or $2.99 a month managed WordPress hosting for the first year with a free domain, CJCGeek1W. Again, those two deals alone are the best deals to get started with an online website in the known universe. You can also get a free trial of GoDaddy Website Builder, your choice of personal, business, or business plus plans. That's 1 month free trial. CJCGNC free is the promo code to use. Again, it's very simple. Just come over to the website, come over to the article, latest article at Geek News Central, or come over to geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy and lock in your savings by clicking on one of those codes Your support of this sponsor allows me to keep the lights on, the insurance paid, everything that goes along with running a very small studio business, and then having a team of writers and everything that goes along with it. And we definitely appreciate those of you that are supporting the show, and those of you who consider picking up a GoDaddy product or service. Please do so. Think about it and support the podcast today. So what's going on here? Well, the taxes are into the accountant. Everything finally went to them on Tuesday. I called them on Wednesday, say, yep, we've got everything, and we're so busy, we may have to file an extension for you. I'm like, what? Never had this happen with them. They're very, very busy. Apparently, a couple of businesses went out of business. A couple of businesses went out of business, and they got all their business. So it pays to have your stuff in early and not be a procrastinator. And I said, well, at least find out if I owe Uncle Sugar anything. Get me close, just, round it up to, the closest 1,000 if I have to pay them. And that way I can send another check if I need be. And then if there is a penalty that I'm going to have to ensue for being late, it's not too big. So hopefully we'll have some rough idea what is going to happen here next week. So cross our fingers on that. What else? I had an email come in from Sam. Sam, a longtime listener of the show, and I wanted to bring that up before we get into the content, because he had concerns that, I've been encouraging folks, go over to newpodcastapps.com and grab a new podcasting app. And again, I'm not asking you to change everything that you're doing. I'm asking you to listen to this show on those new podcasting apps. He said, Todd, I have a suggestion. You mentioned on this Monday's episode that you want 10% of the audience to use a Podcast 2.0 app so they can give value for value by boosting the show or sending sats as support of the value you provide each week. He says, I'm having problems here with the audio. This happened the other day, and I must have a cable going bad, because every once in a while, and it's in this ear again, I get a scratchy cable, so it must be time. I must have rolled over this thing enough to have it to be ready to be thrown out. You have a suggestion. You mentioned on this Monday's episode that you want 10% of the audience to use a Podcast 2.0 app so they can give value for value by boosting the show or sending sats as support. I think this is great. Hope people get on board. I know for me that I use Downcast because it's so customizable. I've not made a switch to a Podcast 2 app because I don't want to give up my highly customized playlist. Don't give it up, because 95% of the shows are not participating. Just do it for this show. Which leads to my suggestion. Just like the subscribe page that lists all the ways to subscribe to GNC Podcast, create a podcast in GNC that lists all the ways listeners can support the show. We have that at geeknewscentral.com/insider. Perhaps you can simply update Geek News Central SAS support. It's already at Insider. In addition to the GoDaddy content, the available options of sending in support to GNC, PayPal, Satoshi's, Lightning Payments, Venmo, Cash App, links to Podcast 2.0 app. So we do have a Satoshi donation bar in the Insider page. So you can make donations that way. But it's much easier to be able to send a boost if you just use an app. Perhaps you should create a tutorial. This is an app that you just install on iOS or Android. You search for my show, you subscribe to it, and they have full tutorials within their own apps on how to get this set up. Add your debit card, add some Satoshis. It's easy, 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 easy. So, and then on every forthcoming episode, you can mention People in Sports Show by going over to the website page, make a donation, learn about the support option, and always, as part of your show prep, ensure that audio is enabled to play as sound if a listener boosts your show and read all the boostgrams. I have that enabled. You can hear it right here. It is enabled. It is on. The boostgrams can come in, and if it comes in, you'll hear the pew-pew. So that is all set up for you to participate. But I think, Sam, you're good. All good ideas. Don't get me wrong, but there is a ability to donate on the geeknewscentral.com, and I'll actually show you guys, those that are watching. So if you go over to the page, there is a link on the page that says you can contribute Bitcoin Satoshis with GetAlby. And there's a link right there. You click on it. It takes you to a page and it shows you if you want to donate. But again, you have to have a wallet. And setting a wallet up, if you don't have a wallet already, is more of a pain than just by having an app that does this all for you. And you don't have to really think about going getting out a wallet somewhere, because it's even more complicated if you don't already have a wallet. These apps, Podverse and Fountain, that support the live and lit function of the show, have the ability for you to set up a wallet within their systems and to be able to donate directly from their app and earn sats on Fountain as well. So again, going to the website to do it and is even harder than just loading the podcast app. Again, Fountain is on iOS and Android. Use it to listen to the show, I think, and also cross-app comments, all kinds of cool stuff coming that you're never going to get in Downcast until they make an update. Pocket Cast users, there is some functionality for Podcast 2.0 already in Pocket Cast. So those of you using Pocket Cast are going to start to see some of that functionality. So, okay. So anyway, Sam, thanks for the email. Again, it's one of those things we've tried to get you folks to move to a new app, to experience this. Once you do, and once you start seeing the interactivity and interacting with other listeners, changes the whole game plan. You guys are going to have more fun too, as much as I do, in participating in this model. But I'll do some more stuff on the insider page, where all that information is at. And that's, again, the PayPal link to donate to the show is right on geeknesscentral.com. You don't have to go any further than that. I hate to add Cash App and Venmo and those other services because it just adds another layer of accounting. It's just, it's another place where I have to go in and separate any movement of money to make sure that Uncle Sugar gets his fair share. In other words, his percentage. So, but anyway, thanks for Sam for that. All right. Again, that's about it. We're going to have another show on Monday, and then kind of the travel begins again, going out to Las Vegas for the National Association of Broadcasters show. I'll be out there leave here Thursday, fly out Friday, and then I don't get back until a week from Thursday. So really 3 shows out after next week's Monday show. Let's get into the content and see what we can dig up here for you. Kurt's did a good job in show prep. Let me see if this thing is still rattling. So something, I got a cable I got to replace. So another one to throw in. They last about a year. And then because it's on the floor, getting run over by stuff, stepped on. I was pretty sure what's going on. It's been over the news, but the creator of Cash App was stabbed to death in San Francisco. FinTech pioneer Bob Lee, 43, also worked at Google, Square, and MobileCoin. And, he was out pretty late. So, always, and this is no excuse, but nothing ever happens good after midnight if you're out walking around in a city. But officers were called regarding a stabbing at 2:35 a.m. in the city's downtown area, where they discovered him injured, and they took him to a hospital, but he died from his injuries. And what is going on in some of these big cities? It's dangerous out there, and it's just it's too bad, really. Here you have this pioneer, and he's probably had a couple of being that he'd been through several businesses like that, he probably was very financially successful. But at 2:30 in the morning, out walking around was not a good thing. And again, whatever, not to say that we shouldn't be able to walk around at 2:30 in the morning, but I would even be leery walking around in San Francisco at 2:30 o'clock in the morning, especially LA. There's only a few cities I would feel safe at 2:30 in the morning, maybe Tokyo. And even then, you get down the wrong alley, things can go sideways. Moving on here, Tesla employees reportedly share videos captured by cameras on customers' cars. They even shared a clip of a child being hit by a car, according to Reuters. It appears, allegedly, some Tesla workers shared sensitive photos and videos captured by cameras on their car owners between each other for several years. Former employees told the outlet that colleagues shared the images in group chats and one-on-one communications between 2019 and last year. Workers also said they sent each other videos taken inside Tesla owners' garages. One clip reportedly showed a submersible white Lotus E-Spirit sub that appeared in a 1977 James Bond movie. As it happens, Tesla CEO Elon Musk bought that vehicle a decade ago, suggesting that his employees were circulating footage that the vehicle captured inside his garage. The image sharing practice, of course, was a breach of privacy, to be honest. And one of the employees said, I would never buy a Tesla after seeing how they treated some of these people. Now, here's the thing. I asked a buddy of mine yesterday, Rob, during New Media Show, he said, I share all my data. And I'm like, you share all your data with Tesla? And he says, yes. I'm like, why? Why do you do that? And so you think about, if you have your car parked in the garage, oftentimes the washer and dryer in the garage, and, we all are running in and out, we're in the privacy of our home. We may be in a half state of undress. I've often taken stuff to the washing machine in my home and disrobed and put the final piece of dirty laundry in the washing machine and then went to take a shower. I'm sure no one else that's listening to the show has ever done that, but, sometimes you like to get that last piece of dirty laundry in. So who knows what these employees may have seen. But if this is true, I would be revoking any sharing of personal data with Tesla at this point. I just would not at all trust them. Hey, I want to say hello to Felix and Kirk for checking in on Facebook, and if you're watching on Twitter, if you're watching on YouTube, Twitch, wherever you may be watching, make sure you say hello in the comments. I am watching the Facebook stream, and of course, we are watching for a boost to come in via the Boostagram on the on Heliopad. So you don't know what that is, doesn't matter. It's where the pew pew sound comes from. This is an interesting discussion. U.S. defense tech veterans call for a separate cyber force. A cyber force would essentially be the Department of Defense's arm for pushing back against online threats. Supporters argue it would create a more consistent approach with greater military readiness than what is seen with the current Cyber Command, which is reliant on personnel and input into its operations from other military branches. It would be the seventh branch of the military if created. The pressure to create such a branch within this year's National Defense Authorization has increased in recent weeks. In a statement, the Military Cyber Professionals Association argued that while the U.S. has for decades held the advantage in cyberspace, modern threats are significant, dynamic, ever-present, and consequential. They can no longer be addressed in a hodgepodge fashion, which, according to MCPA, turns 10 this year and has more than 3,000 members. So what they do, Cyber Command basically gets sailors, Marines, Air Force, and Army guys, they all go do independent duty. And it's not always perfect for someone that's doing that from a career standpoint. So the Air Force, I believe, leads Cyber Command, but still they get inputs from all these different, probably even Space Force at this point. So maybe it is time, but with that comes a whole bunch of red tape and another layer of, money, and it's just, you just have almost a whole nother, it becomes complicated, and we'll see if they're able to do this, but maybe it's time to, look at combining some forces too. Time will tell. Walmart has announced a major expansion to EV charging network. New fast charging stations are coming to thousands of retail locations. Well, we sure can use them in here in our town. There is now 4. Only 2 of them are currently working. 2 of 4 charging stations in this town. But the news does not say precisely how many of the approximately 5,300 Walmart and Sam's Club locations throughout the country will be added to the network. and the company declined to share information. Walmart currently operates 1,300 EV fast charging stations located at more than 280 retail stores and affiliated facilities. With a store or club located within 10 miles of approximately 90% of Americans, we are uniquely positioned to deliver a convenient charging option that will help make EV ownership possible, whether people live in rural, suburban, or urban areas. Well, they need to just roll this out in rural areas because there's just not enough chargers in rural America. As much as I don't particularly care for Walmart, to be very frank, it would make sense. There's a Walmart in every town. Every town in this little town I'm in, I got one that's literally 300 feet from me, across the street. It just makes sense for these big shopping retails to have charging stations. So they usually have pretty big parking lots. Now, who might be at loss of that? Well, usually truckers and campers, people that are doing overnight stays are can't parking in Walmart lots. Maybe those would be the lost leaders on that. Time would tell. Hey, Dan, thanks for saying hi on Facebook. Appreciate you checking in. Definitely appreciate you watching the live show. So over at space.com, they've got a great article about what would happen if scientists found an asteroid heading towards Earth. And, there's been all kinds of, discussions. Oh, we're going to send a nuclear weapon out to blow one up, or we're going to crash something into it. And but they got a real world situation that's developing in 2032. We have an appointment with an asteroid, and they have some decisions to make here in the near future. So in this article, they walk through the hypothetical asteroid strike or potential strike, and go through a drill to what would be the response and so forth. So I think that probably this is a good time to get that done because the team led by NASA's Near Earth Object Program Office apparently will be in charge of any type of hypothetical or real world situation. With this discovery of the new asteroid that received a name 2023 PDC in this drill, they highlighted what they would potentially have to do, and it's one of those situations where just nudging it would not help. So link will be up in the show notes for you to check out. It is a very interesting write-up. They did a pretty thorough job with that. Lyft has expanded its EV and hybrid booking options to 14 more of its U.S. markets. Green mode will only be available to business travelers, but it's part of the company's plan for vehicles to be 100% electric by the end of 2030. I'm going to tell you what, every time I look at Lyft or Uber and look at specifically an EV vehicle ride, they're always much higher. They're much higher than the gas equivalent. So I know that they're saying it only costs $1 more. I don't believe it. I don't believe it costs just $1 more. That's not what I'm seeing when I'm requesting vehicles via Lyft or Uber. But there's a lot of folks, and I was talking to one gentleman when I was in Vegas last time when I got in a Lyft, and it wasn't because I requested a Lyft. Got in a Uber. When I got into a Tesla from Uber, all right, the gentleman said he rented his Tesla, and he was able to make enough to make his monthly payment on the vehicle, and basically the offset in gas was what made it possible for him to do that. He said, I wouldn't have been able to rent a gas-powered vehicle because of the gas costs and still made this work. So I found that was interesting that he was renting or leasing, and I think maybe he was actually doing it from Uber or Lyft, which was even more interesting as well. A little bit of a weird article over at livescience.com. A 30,000-year-old furball hidden in Canadian permafrost is actually a mummified squirrel. Gold miners had unearthed a mangled lump of mummified flesh, which upon further inspection turned out to be balled-up Arctic ground squirrel. And they believe it may have died around 30,000 years ago. So, We're seeing lots of this kind of stuff, but I don't know what much more data they're going to get from that besides, yep, it was a dead squirrel. So big full moon last night. It was pretty clear here after being so dodgy with weather and stuff, but apparently that was a pink moon. Pink moon delights skywatchers around the world during the April full moon 2023. The first moon of spring 2023 rose yesterday, April 5th, and but reached its peak in the early hours of Thursday. But it was clear out last night until almost midnight, and yeah, the moon was big, but it was not pink in my locale. WSU students awarded for helping solve NASA's moon dust program. This week, NASA announced who'll be on the crew of Artemis 2. Although that upcoming mission doesn't include a lunar landing, future missions do. A group of Washington State University students could have a hand in helping those astronauts stay safe once they're on the moon's surface. NASA has put a man on the moon before, and as it prepares to return, is trying to figure out how to keep the dust in check. And so they basically used a brush during the Apollo missions to try to move dust, but it didn't work very well. And basically, they said we would watch these liquid nitrogen droplets running around on the floor like water on a hot skillet, and we'd collect all the dust and put it in the lowest part of the floor and just leave it there in one nice spot. Oh. To put liquid nitrogen into a sprayer, similar to what a dermatologist uses. And if you've ever had a wart frozen off, we modified one of those same sprayers and used that initially and then developed that into something we could use as a vacuum. The researchers found that the sprayer removed more than 98% of the dust stimulant in a vacuum environment with minimal damage to spacesuits. The WSU team faced off against more than 50 other teams, and WSU made it to the final 7. The project won the Artemis Award and $130,000 for their research. So congratulations to the team to figure out how to essentially eliminate dust inside the capsule for these future Artemis, or at least help clean it up. Disney, of course, has been in the news a lot. Lots of politics going there, but Disney's created a new executive board to oversee everything about its brand. They created a new chief brand officer, which is a role to oversee Disney's brand across the entire ecosystem. The company's president of marketing for Walt Disney Studios will be taking the post and reporting directly to recently returned CEO Bob Iger. As part of the chief brands officer's duty, he will make marketing campaigns leveraging and synthesizing the company's full suite of content and consumer experiences. So, they had a huge loss in revenue. So, trying to shore that up. Amazon, meanwhile, is saying diamonds are a quantum network's best friend. And for those of you that have read over the years about quantum communications and quantum networking, the secret of unlocking the full potential of a quantum network may be hiding at the center of a diamond, according to Amazon Web Services. This week, AWS popped the question to De Beers subsidiary Element 6 in hope of finding it. One of the early applications of quantum networks is a key distribution which uses a pair of entangled qubits to ensure that traffic traveling over the network is secure. If you have entanglement between these 2 points, it doesn't matter how you achieve that entanglement on the edge of the network, you can guarantee that there has been no interference. Any attempt to compromise the keys caused the quantum state to collapse, rendering them useless. Because of this, quantum networks are seen by proponents as a way to create unhackable networks. So they're talking about using quantum repeaters because signals have to be reboosted over fiber because the signal degrades over distance. And the quantum repeater catches the information encoded in the light, stores it, and then using nearby qubits corrects any errors. These operations are akin to parity calculations, which allow the errors to be patched without measuring the quantum state, which is kind of important if you don't want to compromise entanglement. So anyway, lots of scientists gobbledygook there, but maybe maybe at some point, networks will be secure by quantum entanglement. Over at Crunchbase, global VC funding falls dramatically across all stages in rocky Q1 despite massive OpenAI and Stripe deals. Venture and growth investors in private companies continue to scale back their investment pace. Global funding in the first quarter reached $76 billion, marking a 53% decline year over year from $162 billion in the first quarter of 2022. That's including the reported $10 billion investment into OpenAI, largely for Microsoft, and the $6.5 billion round for payments giant Stripe. Without those two large deals, Q1 venture funding would have been down even more dramatically to $60 billion. Every funding stage last quarter was down 45 to 54% year over year, a clear signal that the slowdown is not confined to late stage funding. Investors across each stage scaled back as they took time to assess new investment opportunities while guiding existing portfolio companies. And if you're not making money, you are going to get the axe. You're not going to get your next round. You better figure out how to get to profitability in a hurry. 5 apps and websites to learn faster and return information better. If you're struggling to learn a new skill, there's some apps to help you out. Mind Tools is one. Anki, A-N-K-I, is another. Neuro Nation is a third. Reading Trainer is a fourth. And 5 is Art of Memory. Each of these do a little bit different things. I'll have the link up in the show notes for you to review and check out. Engadget has a good article about the do's and don'ts of location sharing. Don't share your location. Some apps require a location, like Uber Eats or something like that. I only allow apps to access my location when I'm using the app and it's a situation where I need it. I turn off location sharing with everything else. And if you need location sharing going on for family members and so forth, something like that, clear the history on a regular basis. Google collects everything. If you don't have this turned off, if you're using Google Maps, even Apple, they're collecting all this data. Clear that information. You can do that within Google itself. But these other apps, you don't know what's going on here. It might be going into the ether space. Yesterday, I had a need to see if a Walmart, not in my local area, had something I needed to pick up because I was in another town. And it kept asking me, update my location, update location. I'm saying, no, I just want to give you a zip code. I don't want you used to my location. And the app refused. Well, I said, screw it. I went to CVS because I didn't want the Walmart app to access my location. I had the zip code. I didn't need to tell it where I was at. But boy, they just want to take as much as they can. Don't give them that data. Really don't. And this goes into the same situation on how you can toggle this on or off on Apple, Samsung, Google. And same thing with Firefox, Chrome, Edge, and Safari on how to disable location tracking. Turn that stuff off. They don't need that information. Also, if you've got a tech repair where a phone or it's a computer or something like that, always get a second opinion on a tech repair. There's usually enough tech repair locations in these cities and towns now that you can potentially get a couple of options. And when your phone screen breaks or your laptop stops, or even when you take the device to the manufacturer, there's decisions when to and not to. I still have a dead Mac Pro that my son years ago poured, chemical on it by mistake. Well, a cat knocked it into it. That wasn't a very, 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 very expensive situation where we couldn't get it repaired. And we tried 2 different places, the Mac shop and a outfit in New York, who said, can't do it. So we had gotten 2 opinions, and it was truly, truly dead. Vietnam warns TikTok social media apps over toxic content. Vietnam's communication ministry said TikTok isn't doing enough to remove toxic and false content, and warned the government could soon take measures to restrict operations of the popular social media platform and others seen as violating national laws. So, another country going on the attack on TikTok. Meta's layoffs are affecting customer service and leaving influencers and businesses on Instagram and Facebook in the lurch. So apparently, the influencers saying other people are copying our profiles and we can't get them taken down. Meta announced a huge number of layoffs. Kataya Karlova, a verified Instagram influencer with more than 250,000 followers, told CNBC that since the layoff, she's seen a rise in scammers stealing her pictures and creating fake accounts. Some have even lured users into sending money for adult content. She says this is really damaging. Adding, Instagram was already slow in removing fake accounts, but after a lot of her requests for support from customer service, we're going into the void. What about businesses? Doesn't say too much about businesses, even though they threw that out there in even they threw it up in the title. I'm looking at here what businesses are being affected and what reason. They just talked about the influencer at all. So they didn't talk about what's really happening with businesses. So a little bit of a false pretense to that article. The United Kingdom's emergency service network unlikely to start operating until 2029. The price cap Britain's competition regulatory imposed on Motorola's Airwave solution, whose tech provider comms have been emergency service. The price cap Britain's competition regulator imposed on Motorola's Airwave solutions, whose tech provides comms between emergency services across the nation, could save taxpayers more than £1 billion by the time the successor is ready. Airwave was commissioned in 2000 and is due to run until 2017, when the replacement emergency service network, also being built by Motorola, was scheduled to go live. It was beset by delays and was moved to 2019 under a revised program, but now it's been shifted to 2029. So those of you that live in the UK are probably definitely more familiar with this, but government programs move slow. China, they're putting the heat on everybody, primarily here in the United States, because they consider us weak at this point. China has a plan for a $500 million subsea internet cable to rival a U.S.-backed project. So Chinese state-owned telecom firms are developing a $500 million undersea fiber optic internet cable network that would link Asia, the Middle East, and Europe to rival a similar U.S.-backed project. 4 people involved in the deal told Reuters. The plan is a sign that an intensifying tech war between Beijing and Washington risks tearing the fabric of the internet. China's 3 main carriers, China Telecommunications Corp., China Mobile Limited, and China United Network Communications Group, are mapping out one of the world's most advanced and far-reaching subsea cable networks. Of course, all that data will be subject to China monitoring. Known as the EMA, the proposed cable would link Hong Kong to China's island province of Hainan before snaking its way to Singapore, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and France. The cable would cost approximately $500 million to compete, would be manufactured and laid by China's HMN Technology Company Limited, a fast-growing cable firm. So, news of the planned cable comes in the wake of a Reuters report last month that revealed how the U.S. government, concerned about Beijing's eavesdropping on internet data, has successfully thwarted a number of Chinese undersea cable projects abroad over the past 4 years. Washington also blocked licenses for planned private subsea cables that would have connected the United States with Chinese territory of Hong Kong, including projects led by Google, Meta, and Amazon. Undersea cables carry more than 95% of all international traffic, but these cables are very vulnerable to spying and sabotage, and have become weapons of influence and escalating competition between the United States and China. So, this is an issue. Once the Chinese have their taps into the telecommunications, not much that they won't be able to listen in on. So, death by 1,000 cuts. James Webb Space Telescope discovers oldest black hole in the universe, a cosmic monster 10 million times heavier. We covered this on the last show, so I'm not going to go over that again. Somehow that ended up there's a dupe. Some police officers have put a teenager in cuffs, a Robin Hood hacker suspected peddling stolen info. They have a Spanish police have arrested a 19-year-old suspected of stealing records belonging to 500,000 taxpayers and developing a database to sell stolen information to other cyber criminals. Jose Luis Huertas, better known as Alcasec, has been described as a Robin Hood hacker and a dangerous computer criminal, 19-year-old. And this includes impersonating and stealing 300,000 euros from, I don't know who this is, some celebrity, and selling this data to the highest bidder, I guess. So he has been put in cuffs and chains. Google will finally soon restrict loan applications from accessing users' photos and contacts. Loan sharks are known to harass everyone in borrowers' contact lists. Don't use an app to borrow money. Who does that? Unless it's your bank. This is but one change Google's implemented over the past year, following multiple reports of harassment from certain markets such as India, Pakistan, Kenya, and the Philippines. It's common for loan apps to require access to users' phone books and media before they lend money. The fact that people can install these apps on their phones make them look like a pretty convenient solution for sudden monetary issues, but since they typically charge crazy interest rates, a lot of borrowers end up having difficulties keeping up with the payments. That's when the abuse begins. So, I guess this is largely outside the United States. In the U.S., Google banned payday loan apps with an annual percentage rate of 36% or higher back in 2019, but that does not apply outside of the United States. 36%, my God. Google, what happened here? Something disappeared. Let me try that again. Google will add GPT-style conversation to AI search. After getting beat to the punch by its primary rival, Google plans to add conceptual AI to its flagship search product. Will people be able to ask questions to Google and engage the large language model in the context of search? Absolutely, said Google's already said it would integrate LLMs into search, but this is the first time the company's announced plans for conversational features. The move isn't expected, particularly after Microsoft released a version of its own Bing. However, Google's implementation would potentially have more impact considering 93% of the world's share of search market. So they did not reveal a timeline. I want to be able to have a regular search and an AI search. I don't want to want to be forced into one bucket. But maybe we will be. Could change the Google search engine game completely. So, in a more little fun article over at WPLN.org, Curious Nashville, in the search of a space capsule in rural Hickam County. Apparently, someone took a picture, it looked like a space capsule. People been on the search for it. Well, what it is, and I think maybe this has popped up before, because I remember a story like this before. It was a wrecked concrete truck. It's basically when a concrete truck wrecks and is full of concrete, unless they get the concrete out of the concrete truck, well, the drum is ruined, and this is the case. The roadside mystery in Coble, Tennessee looks like a spacecraft, and it has a NASA logo on it. And so anyway, people have been having a lot of fun on it. People have been searching for it. When they see it on the internet, they go hunting. All right, so this is going to bring me to the end. It is Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday. I'm very much looking forward to this weekend. And not a whole bunch of pressure on me to do a whole bunch of stuff because the accountant has taxes. It just takes me forever to get through stuff. If I can sit down for like 6 hours, 6 to 7 hours, or even 8 consecutively, I can get everything done because I just threw everything into a box all year round. I really need someone to do my accounting monthly, but it's, I don't know why. I don't know why I don't do it. I want to have someone do it, but it is just one of those deals. And then sometimes, like, I'll charge something on my Apple Card, and I'll have to go through those charges, find the corresponding charge, make sure it's actually a business expense, pull it out, find the receipt, all that stuff. And it just sometimes it's a pain. But that's life. That's what happens here when you're a one-man show. But everyone, thanks for being here. Thanks for being part of the family. Don't forget to drop me an email, geeknews@gmail.com, geeknews@gmail.com. It's been my pleasure to bring you the podcast. I'll be back here with you Thursday. We have been live and lit. And yes, no one is using the new podcast app because no one boosted the show today. We have had some people that have come in and listened by the minute and thrown sats that way. So we do appreciate those of you that are using that. This is one of the sounds you may hear. Oh, how come it didn't load? Okay, let me do this. I got to authorize. We'll go back. And now it's importing. Okay, so let me give it. This is one of the sounds you'll hear. There you go. That can show a boost that's coming in. So a lot of people are listening to the show on the new media show on a new podcast app at podcastapps.com. But not many Geek News Central listeners are moving over there. You guys are the ones that should. Podcastapps.com, Fountain or Podverse. Grab one. If you're an iOS, Android user, grab Fountain. That's probably the easiest way to get going. And just listen to this show. Play around. Be geeks. That's what you are. You are all tech geeks who listen to this podcast. All right, it's been my pleasure. Thanks, everyone. geeknews@gmail.com, geeknews@gmail.com. See you back here on Monday. Everyone take care. Be safe. We'll see you next time. Everyone take care. Bye-bye.